present our first event of this series called Share It. The aim of this event is to present ideas, scientific ideas. It's up to the student to come up with his own presentation about the subject that he's interested in. For example, if you're reading something and you learn something new and it catches your eye and you want to show it to other people, you could possibly come to our next events of Share It and present it, like we're going to do today. Today we have 3 presentations. The first one is Aquaponics. I will present that. The second one will be about seabirds and their conservation, and Mary Claire will be talking. And the third one is about artificial humans, and Maria Stella will be presenting that. I think we can start our talks. So, aquaponics. I want to start a discussion here, because that's the main aim of these events. I want to ask all of you, what do you think is essential for farming? What does a plant need to grow? Any ideas? Like, what are the main elements to grow a plant?
Carbon dioxide, light, and some nutrients, nitrogen.
So you require water, you require nutrients, you require light. Is there anything else, like for farming, that you need?
An appropriate medium to present.
A medium. When we talk about farming, most of the time you think about soil and someone sowing the land, and it's hard work. You think it's something very difficult to do. But nowadays there's a revolution sort of thing going on, and these new systems I'm going to talk about are very technological and innovative, and this is one of them. It's called aquaponics. So what is aquaponics? Aquaponics, someone said, aquaponics is the art of growing food with fish poop. Now, what is that? Charles E. Kellogg, who invented, cornflakes and stuff, said, essentially all life depends upon the soil. There can be no life without soil and no soil without life. They have evolved together. Well, I say that's a lot of lies, and it's not true. You can grow crops without soil, and that's what I'm going to show you here. So, aquaponics is an integration of 2 systems. It's the first one is hydroponics and aquaculture. So what is hydroponics? Hydroponics is a process of growing food in an inert medium by controlling and adding nutrients, but without soil. That's very important. The main thing about hydroponics is that you're not going to use the land to plant in it. You're going to use something else, whereas the crops are going to grow in the water itself. Now I will show you some pictures. Then you also use aquaculture. You integrate that. The aquaculture is, as many of you know, it's the cultivation of aquatic animals and plants for food. Now, when I talk about aquaculture, most of you think about fish farms and this sort of thing. But in the system, you can use aquaculture to get the nutrients from the fish to grow crops with it. So some brief history. These are called chinampas, and they were built by the Incas and Aztecs. Basically, it's South America, between 14th and 16th century AD. So this is very, very old techniques. But probably they didn't know that they were doing this sort of system. So practically they had sort of islands, and they grew crops on them. And the islands were fertilized by the nutrients around them from the fish that were in the lake. Even earlier, the paddy fields in China, paddy fields, they grow rice in them, and mainly there were ducks and fish as well, but ducks were used to fertilize the land. They kept ducks in their paddy fields, and the manure that came from the ducks fertilized the crop. These are I came upon this idea when reading about these berries. They are huge reservoirs in India, and these are man-made reservoirs. But along the shoreline of the reservoirs, they used to grow crops. The Cambodians used to grow crops, and they grow. The roots grow in the water. So you have the crop floating on the water, and the roots grow in the water. And this is also called deep water culture for that reason. As you can see, the roots grow extensively in the water, and they grow very, very strong. And I would like to ask, if you saw a normal crop in the field, normally it wouldn't have these kinds of roots. So why do you think it's like? Why do you think they grow at such like they're huge, you know? So what's the difference between between these roots and the ones grown in the field? Why do they grow this big? Any ideas? Tell me.
Probably no resistance from the soil, abrasions and.
Yeah, that's basically it. When growing crops in the soil, well, soil is hard, you know, and the roots have to grow and move the rock, and they use energy to do that. So when growing these crops in the water, you have no restriction, no resistance, and they can grow as much as they want. And this provides the crop with much more consumption of water, of nutrients. If you have any questions, just ask.
Just one.
So, tell me.
But unless you're harvesting the root, all that energy is wasted.
Yes, exactly. But in these systems, the crop grows very fast. For example, a lettuce in the field grows in, let's say, 6-8 weeks. In these systems, it grows in 4 weeks, because it's not just growing the roots very, very efficiently and fast. It's also growing the crop very fast. Because the more roots you have, the more nutrients you're getting. So it's overall it's much more fast. These are some other systems, or hydroponic systems. NFT, nutrient film technique, you basically have a PVC pipe and water is running through the pipe, and the roots are growing continuously. There's also a wick system. It's you have a sort of rope, and the rope absorbs water, so the water is connected to the lettuce or whatever by this wick. So it's called a wick system. And a bent flow, the crops are filled with water, and when it sort of overflows, it goes into the water tank, and then you have a pump and put it back in. So that's an bent flow system. Having the plants growing directly in the water, you shoot the water droplets, so it's called aeroponics for that reason. Aero is air, and you shoot the water. This is an aeroponic system. As you can see, it's conserving space because the plants are growing almost vertically, and it's also indoors, as you can see. So that doesn't show well. Aquaponics is a system whereas you have the hydroponic part, that's the major part of the system that I have talked about. Then you have the aquaculture, which is that, and bacteria. Bacteria grow on the surface of the system, and these break down the fish manure into nutrients which the plant can use. So this is a sustainable system I came across. Basically, you have an aeration. This is necessary in every system that you will be using, because both the plants and the fish need air to grow. So you must have an air pump. Then you must have a pump to push back the water up into the hydroponic system. Some innovative ways of doing this use gravity, so you conserve energy. Then you must also have a porous system. You need a medium. You're not using soil, but you still need something for the plant to adhere to. This can be gravel or something that has structure in it, so that the roots can the seedling can stay in it and grow into the water. You also have a solar panel. These are innovative ways of doing this culturing, which provides energy for the pumps, etc. Why grow aquaponics instead of normally? Some advantages: you reduce the labor cost. You don't need to plow in the field, use the tractors and stuff. You have higher production rate, as I already mentioned. The plants normally grow like 2 times faster, and I have read that they gain around 4 times as much production over a year, so that's quite a lot. It provides income from 2 different systems. You have the fish that you're going to sell, and you have the crops. The waste products that you're manufacturing from the aquaculture part are not wasted. Normally in aquaculture you need to dispose of this because it is poisonous, like ammonia and stuff. And in this case you're using the waste on the current systems. Less pests and diseases, and I wrote if controlled. Well, if you have a very controlled system like in a greenhouse, and you try as much as you can to prevent fungi and insects and all these pests, you might not need pesticides or these things if you're really controlling the system. However, if you get a disease in the water, for example, it can both affect the fish and the plants. And since the plants in the system are all growing in the same medium and the same water, it usually tends to infect all of them at once. So you must be really careful not to introduce. The water goes up the tower and it drips down, and the plant roots grow inside. Some disadvantages: it costs a lot, not quite a lot, but you need a lot of investment at the beginning, so that sort of impedes some people. You need a lot of water at start to fill up the tanks and to build the system. It requires skill and know-how. Of course, you need to know how the aquaculture part works, how the hydroponics part works. You need to be a sort of chemist and biologist and engineer and marketing. If you're doing this alone, you need a lot of skill, but it can be done. It's not very hard, and it pays off. You need constant monitoring of water parameters. That's basically the workload of the system. You don't need to sow plants, but you just need to check the nutrient levels. Pests and diseases can be devastating, as I have explained. Some species cannot be grown, for example in Malta, because of the temperature, so there are limitations. There are a lot of, in Malta there isn't quite, that are connected to his system, so that if there is a blockage in the water pipes, for example, the system sends him a message on his mobile telling him, you know, this pipe is not working, so go check it out. So actually this person just has to sit somewhere at home or whatever, and you know, if he gets a message, the Na concentration, for example, Na plus concentration has changed, it's staying at a dangerous level. He goes, checks, changes things, and you can check him out on YouTube. Just type urban aquaponics in Oakland, 4 kilometers squared of marijuana. So I'm giving no ideas here, but anyways. You can grow upwards. These are futuristic concepts. This is a skyscraper. It's a concept, but you could possibly have a skyscraper just for growing crops. And it makes use of limited space. So, and it can also be used for space missions, which is, this is taken from a movie. For long journeys you would need something to eat, so you could possibly grow these plants in space to sustain your voyage. So, I'll finish with this quote. The ultimate goal of farming is not the growing of crops, but the cultivation and perfection of human beings. And I thank you for your attention.
I'm Marie-Claire, I'm a fourth-year biology and chemistry student, and tonight I'm going to share with you something about seabirds, something I've been experiencing over the summer. Basically what they're all about, why they're important, and why they need some attention. So firstly, what are seabirds? seabirds are a taxonomically varied group of birds that depend, at least for part of in their life cycle, on the marine environment. They're made up of around 350 species. That just makes up 3.5% of the whole bird population. They're top predators. They can cover very large distances when they're foraging, and they generally have a long lifespan, and they mate for life. They're monogamous. They have a late onset of maturity, of sexual maturity, related to their long life, and they also typically have a small clutch size. It's quite normal for seabird species to lay only one egg in a year, for example. Additionally, they're very loyal to their breeding site. Now, the latter few points make them pretty vulnerable to threats in their breeding grounds, for example. So if they're only 3.5% of the whole population of birds, why all this interest in them? Well, in the marine ecosystem, they're top predators, and they happen to be the component of the marine ecosystem which we know most about. So if there's something going wrong in the marine ecosystem, they tend to be our markers to tell us what's happening. Such as in the case of climate change. Global warming is warming up surface water temperatures, and it's also melting ice. And these two factors lower the density of the surface waters. This inhibits vertical mixing, which in turn stops a vertical nutrient flow, which declines the plankton numbers in the oceans. Now, since plankton is the basic food source of the marine ecosystem, if plankton sources diminish, then fish and krill diminish, and top predators suffer as well, and these include seabirds. And they are in fact on the decline. More than half of the birds that we know enough about to state their status, they're declining. And like 10% of seabird species we do not know enough about. And that's by the IUCN. For those of you who are non-biologists, IUCN is the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, and it sets a status on species, which are the keys. These concern near-threatened, vulnerable, endangered, and critically endangered and extinct. And that's a bar chart showing the different families of seabirds and how they're faring with regards to the IUCN classification. So as you can see, not each family fares the same, and I'll be taking you through them. I had to Google those names as well, even though I like birds. So first off, the albatrosses, which are faring the worst. They are the most in threat to what I'll be mentioning later. Then there's penguins, storm petrels and shearwaters, cormorants, storm petrels, auks, which include puffins, gulls, and ducks and geese. So why are they declining? Well, basically that's human activities. And I'll be going through the major actors. They're eggs in burrows, on the surface of the ground, or in holes or crevices in cliffs or in rock screes. So they're quite accessible if there's a predator introduced which wasn't there before, such as mice, rats, and feral dogs and cats, and they tend to make a mess of a breeding site, with the rats and mice attacking birds, the young, the chicks, the eggs, and since they only have one egg per year, it can have quite a devastating effect even on the short term. Fisheries have a twofold effect. First off, birds tend to be bycatch in fisheries when there's billions of hooks being thrown in long lines and kilometers of nets being thrown in the sea. It's very often for them to get tangled or be caught on hooks and eventually drown. But also overfishing is producing a problem for seabirds as well, because with declining fish stocks and birds being specific to a couple of species of fish, they're feeling the decrease, especially now that fisheries are moving towards even smaller fish sizes. Unfortunately, alternative energy does not give a 100% guarantee either. Offshore wind farms are the cause of a lot of deaths of birds. One collision with wind turbine blades, particularly if the wind farms are situated next to birds are also attracted to light when they fledge. So it's quite common to find seabirds in places that there wouldn't be. Last October, the amount of shearwaters that we had to recover from houses and roadsides wasn't quite funny. Some of them aren't so lucky to be recovered and end up roadkill or collected by the wrong people. And of course there's human persecution, which isn't quite a pleasure either. Those two photos are incidentally from Malta, and they're two from Lodz. So locally we have 4 breeding seabirds. That's top right. Top right is Scopoli shearwater, Yelkowin shearwater, European storm petrel, and the yellow-legged gull. But I'll be focusing on these 3 because those are the 3 species that a local seabird project is focusing on. So first up, the Scopoli shearwater. We have 4,500 pairs of these breeding on the Maltese Islands. That's 5% of the global population. Scopoli shearwater has only recently been taken out of the Coral shearwater complex, and they're found within the Mediterranean mainly. In Malta, they breed at Tachench in Gozo, but they've also got a few colonies on Filfla and on the cliffs in the south of Malta. IUCN classifies them as vulnerable. The Yelkowin shearwater, we've got 1,600 to 1,800 pairs. That's 10% of the global population, mainly in the Mediterranean between Malta, Italy and Greece. The colonies are Tridunta Madonna in Ahrash, which is just next door to the proposed wind farm in Alira, which might be a bit problematic. And there are also some other colonies, smaller colonies, in the southwestern cliffs of Malta and Gozo, also considered to be vulnerable. And this is the European storm petrel. We've got 5,000 to 8,000 pairs. That makes 50% of the globe slides to this bar chart. And I'll point out that the storm petrel, well, when I came across this, actually, I was doing a lecture. I was on Twitter, and I came across an article with these. And I was quite astounded, sort of, to find out that it's 20% of storm petrels in the world we do not have sufficient information about. And there's a project going on in storm petrels in Malta, so it's quite exciting to be finding out stuff about storm petrels when such elusive creatures. In case you didn't realize, they are tiny birds. They're only just larger than the Spanish sparrows, but technology is keeping up. I'm not sure you can make out. I'll try to go and point actually at it. But there's a tiny radio tracker right here, and 2 areas coming about. The areas are very flexible, not a big problem. We're basically radio tracking the storm petrels to see what's part of the seas that they're using, so we can protect them. And we're doing it using radio trackers on storm petrels, and that's actually given Malta the first success story with radio tracking in Europe. This summer, researchers were going out on light aircrafts with an aerial to pick up the signals of radio tagged storm petrels. And what we're doing with the results is we're using them to find out where these storm petrels are going around the Maltese Islands, and to be able to submit those marine areas as marine protected areas. We're doing the same with Yelkowins and Scopolis, using different techniques. But that's mainly the outcome of the research that's happening at the moment in Malta. And that's really it from my side.
I'm going to talk about the use of artificial organs and the ethical issues related to these artificial organs. What I will say may seem a bit like science fiction to some of you, but a lot of research is being done in this field, and I believe that as scientists we should start thinking about these things now at this point before we see the consequences of the widespread of such organs, and I think this is the right time to do it. Also, I want to stress that what I will say is not necessarily my personal opinion. These are just ideas, considerations, and statements for us to discuss and think about. Okay. So, I will start with some definitions because we will be talking about these things, so it's good to know what we're talking about. So, artificial organs are human-made devices. They are used to replace missing, diseased, or incompetent parts of the body, and which need a non-biological material interface with living tissue. Obvious advantages of the use of artificial organs. First of all, you get prolongation of life and also an improvement of the quality of life, because obviously if an organ fails, you get a replacement. Also, the use of heart, lung, or kidney machines could be avoided. This means that resources in hospitals such as bed space, personnel, equipment, electricity could be used for other patients and other things. So this would save resources from hospitals and institutions. Also, it is quite difficult to find organs for donation which are compatible and don't show rejection. Also, it's very difficult to find organs in pristine condition from deceased humans. In case of organ donation, it is when a person donates their organs, they are risking their own health for a person. So if you can avoid that, it's even better. Also, sometimes if you have a family or friend who needs an organ, you kind of feel obliged to donate your organ. So if you have these artificial organs, you don't have this obligation, you don't feel the obligation. I mean, the obligation is not something that is stated out loud, but deep down everybody feels it, or most people do.
It's human instinct.
Also, the person receiving the organ does not feel indebted to anybody, because it's not like they owe their life to someone who gave them the organ. They only owe their life to science, because science gave them this artificial organ. No, it's the transfer of organs from one species to another. In this case, it would be the use of organs from animals into human bodies. This creates issues of animal testing, animal rights, and other ethical issues, which we're not going to get into tonight because it would take us the whole day. But the use of these devices and technologies could avoid such problems. So here's a case study. Basically, there was a guy who had a cancer in his windpipe. He had treatment, but it was unsuccessful. And his doctor suggested a bioartificial organ, which was made from porous fibrous plastic, and it had some stem cells implanted in it, which were harvested from his own bone marrow. So the stem cells were obtained from his bone marrow. He now is cancer-free, breathes normal, and had no problems with rejection of the organ. So here, and in many other cases, we see the use of stem cells and the use of these bioartificial organs. The use of stem cells brings about other ethical issues depending on where the stem cells are taken from. If they are embryonic stem cells, you have the issues of the status of the embryo, if it is a person with potential or a potential person. Okay. So also there are some disadvantages associated with these artificial organs, because you don't really know what you are introducing a foreign body, a foreign chemical into the body. You don't know if there are chemicals leaching out of these plastics, materials, or whatever, which could be detrimental to the body. Also, these devices and organs would be first probably tested on animals. So the problem of animal testing is here as well. One of the main considerations I would like to point out today is, could there be a time in which artificial organs could be better than the body's own natural ones? Of course, these organs are designed so that they don't break easily, they are not struck by disease, and that they do not age. This is like one of those fights of humankind against mortality and to achieve immortality and against death. And I don't know, should we set a limit, and should there be, which is the best thing to use? For example, in sports, you can have like these organs or devices could enhance skills and talent. For example, lung capacity, increase of strength. Should the persons that have these devices be recognized for their skill if they achieve their skill if their skill is augmented by the use of such devices? Should we do this, and should we try to use these devices even if they are not for a medical purpose, or should we stop at the medical purpose level? Okay, there are also issues of identity and dignity. The person with the artificial organs may feel superior or inferior. Like people who are paralyzed or do not have full control of their body are still respected, they're not ostracized in our society. But before they were, would people who have these organs be ostracized in our society, or would we have to fight for their rights, like we are fighting for rights of people for disabled people or for other people in our society. To what percentage can your body be replaced by artificial devices? We are creating like half humans, half machines. In many science fiction movies, you get a lot of these, and it seems like something out of this world. But if we are always introducing more and more of these devices, we'll reach this point. You can call these persons cyborgs, bionic people, and yeah. And would these cyborgs be autonomous persons? Would they be called a person after all? And would they be considered different or the same as everybody else? Okay, so the two main goals of these artificial organs mainly would be prolonging life and quality of life, increasing the quality of life. But sometimes these two goals conflict with each other, so we have to find a balance. But what is this balance, and how can we find it, and who will define it? Also, I believe that the use of such organs would enhance social stratification. Obviously, the rich will afford these devices, but the poor won't. So, should we promote this boundary between the rich and the poor? Should we have evolution with the use of money rather than everybody getting the same chance? Also, this is the last slide. This is probably the most controversial part, and many people think we won't reach a point where we will have an artificial brain. But just for the sake of discussion, I would like to raise this point. Obviously, with the brain, we don't have just motor and sensory functions. We have other things like personality, reasoning, emotions, feelings, memory, decision making. So, if these cyborgs, persons, if we can call them persons, if we are going to call them persons, have this artificial brain, which was devised by another person, would they be morally responsible for their actions because their brain was designed by somebody else? Should artificial devices that allow humans to have superior perception, cognition, motor control, or positive moods and attitudes be allowed? Should they not? Why? Also, the last point I would like to point out is that we declare a person dead by saying it is brain dead. If we manage to have an artificial brain, would be like resurrecting the dead. Should we be playing God? Should we be messing around with this? Or should we just let science do science for the sake of science and to see till what point we will get? So